I'm LQ, and this is the LQ Review, where we don't just watch stories, we talk about why they stay with us. Today, we're talking about the Netflix documentary Melania. And going into this review, I want to be very clear about something. I'm not here to talk politics. I'm here to talk about the documentary itself, how it was made, what it shows, and whether it works as a piece of storytelling. Because at the end of the day, that's what this channel is about. This film follows Melania Trump during the roughly 20 hours leading up to Donald Trump taking office for a second term, showing events from her perspective and giving viewers a behind-the-scenes look at a very unusual and very high-profile moment in American history. Let's start out with what I think worked well. First, I thought the pacing of this documentary was strong. It moved from one location to another without staying anywhere too long. It keeps things moving, which is important in a documentary like this because the danger is always that things start to feel slow or overly procedural. This documentary avoids that. I also thought the documentary did a good job of humanizing Melania. Regardless of what someone might think about her publicly, the film does succeed in making her feel more like a real person rather than just a public figure. By the end, I did feel like I understood her personality a little bit better. Another interesting aspect was the way the documentary presented the relationship between Melania and Donald. It takes this very high-profile marriage between two of the most powerful people in the world and shows moments that actually feel surprisingly normal. You see small interactions that remind you that behind the headlines, there's still a marriage there, and in doing that, the film humanizes Donald a bit as well, at least within the context of their personal relationship, within their marriage. I also have to mention the soundtrack. This documentary had some excellent needle drops. The music choices really helped certain scenes land emotionally and gave the film a strong sense of atmosphere. A good soundtrack can quietly do a lot of storytelling, and I thought this one did that well. Now, there were also parts that didn't work for me. There were entire segments that just didn't hold my interest. For example, the sections that focused on the design of her dress just weren't something that I would personally connect with. I'm just not interested. Now, to be fair, some viewers might really enjoy that kind of behind-the-scenes detail, but for me, it slowed the momentum. Another thing I struggled with a bit was the tone of the documentary overall. It's very flattering. To some degree, that makes sense. This is a documentary centered on Melania, so you expect it to present her perspective. But I do think acknowledging at least some of the controversy surrounding her husband might have made the film feel a little more balanced, and maybe a little more like a traditional piece of documentary filmmaking, rather than something that at times feels close to a promotional piece. Not necessarily to criticize, just to contextualize. Because sometimes even a small amount of opposing context can make a documentary feel more complete. Overall, I did enjoy getting a peek behind the curtain. It's always interesting to see the human side of people that we only see in formal settings or in media coverage. But this probably would be what I would call a one-and-done documentary. I'm glad I watched it, but I don't see myself ever revisiting it. And not every documentary needs to be endlessly rewatchable to be worthwhile. What stayed with me after this documentary was actually the soundtrack, because it reminded me how powerful music choices can be in shaping how we feel about a moment, or even a person. The right song at the right time can make a scene feel warmer, more reflective, or more emotional than it might otherwise feel. And this documentary used music very effectively to create those kinds of connections. It's a good reminder that sometimes what we hear in film is just as important as what we see. Overall, this is well-paced, well-produced, interesting from a human perspective, even if it doesn't fully explore every side of the story. I'm LQ. This has been the LQ Review, because the best stories aren't just watched, they stay with us. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.